Hey everybody, this is Trey. I'm making this video to basically show you how you play the game falsifying a domino-based board game. First, you have to wash the dominoes. I like to put them in a Ziploc bag and shuffle them up real good. Each player gets 5 dominoes. And I'm going to set this game up as if 2 people are playing the game. Next, you have to put a domino face down on each bone around the board. Once you have put the dominoes face down on each bone, then you have to put 5 faced up in the gravesite. After you've completed that, then you put 1 face down in the lose artifact square. The remaining dominoes that you have left, you stack in the archaeology site. You go 2 dominoes by 5, which makes 10 dominoes in the center in the archaeology site. On the bottom to start. Then you just stack them on up until you're out of dominoes. Now the game is set up, ready to play. So how do you start falsifying a domino-based board game? First, everybody at the table gets to roll the dice. The person with the highest roll is the starter, will be the first person to go. Then you go clockwise to your left around the table. Next, you have to figure out which pawn you want, and in this case, there's 2 of us, so we'll use 2 pawns. Then the next thing you need to do, you have to figure out how you're going to end the game. Are you going to end when the dominoes are out of the archaeology site? Are you going to end it with a timer? Or are you going to end it at a point designation like 250 points, 500, 1,000? Normally I play to 500. And what do you do if you have a timer and you haven't reached the point goal? By the time you have ran out of dominoes, you just rewash them and restack them. And the next thing you do after you have figured out what you want to do, how to end the game, the next thing you do, you have to figure out what you're going to do for artifact auction and natural disasters. There's 2 ways that the game can, if you land on these spots, how you can play the game. First, on artifact auction, you land on artifact auction, you can choose out of the gravesite what dominoes that you want. When you decide what dominoes you want, well, you have to discard that amount of numbers. As many as you take, you have to take from yours and put back into the gravesite. Or you can do a house rule that is on the online rules, which is kind of like Go Fish. If, like the scenario right here that I have on the table right now, if I ask the other player, hey, I want your number 12. Well, I would take the number 12, and discard a number back, and that would give me a full house. So there's two ways that you can play Artifact Auction and Natural Disaster. Now, on Natural Disaster, upon landing on Natural Disaster, you can either reverse course and you start going counterclockwise around the game once you land on it, and then when you land on it again, you just start going clockwise again. Or the house rule that is online, you land on it, you'll be the least liked player at the game, but you have to shift dominoes like an earthquake had just happened, and you have to shift the dominoes clockwise to your left around the board. So in this scenario, I would have to give up my dominoes to the other player and take their dominoes. And once you have set everything up, figured out who will be rolling first, designating how to end the game, and figuring out how you're going to play Artifact Auction and Natural Disaster, you're ready to begin the game. Alright, we're ready to play. So I'm going to roll 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once you land on one of the dominoes that's on the bone square, you land on it, you look at it to see if you need it, and if you need it, which in this scenario I do need it because I got a 12, 11, 9, 8, and then I have this 4 over here, and I've got a 10 here, that would give me a straight. And so I'm going to discard the 4, 0 back on the square where I took the 10, 9, and I just had a scoring hand of a straight. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and that's 50 points. 20, 20, 10, that's 50 points. And once you have gotten that hand, you write it down on your notepad that you have, or a sheet of paper with a pen or pencil. I would put down 50 points and discard those dominoes, and then I would draw 5 more from the archaeology site. Three. 1, 2, 3. Now that I've landed on the numbered square, there's 12 of them around the board, I landed on the number 2, and as you see, I have a number 2 in my hand. I'm going to turn this 2 into a 12 because I landed on a 2, which makes it wild. So this 2 turns into a 12. So I got 3 12s and 2 9s. That makes a full house. That's 36 points and 18. And just add up the score. 12, 9, that's 21, 21. So that's 42 plus 12, that's 54 points. Don't hold me to the points, I'm just going off the top of my head. But that is how you get a wild full house. Six. I do need that. Discard the one that I don't want, and that gives me 5 of a kind. That gives me 5 9s, and that's 45 points. Well, I landed on grave robbing. So I have to take all the dominoes out of grave site and discard all my dominoes into the gravesite. Lose artifact. When you land on, there's 2 of those squares on the board. You land on that, there's this artifact just over to the right or left of archaeology site. You pick it up, see if you want it. If you need it, you can keep it. If you don't want it, you can just discard it back. But you can only have 5 dominoes in your hand at all times. I would like to thank you to everybody that has purchased the Fossil Find game. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me a message on Facebook, Messenger. If you have my number, text me, call me, and I'll gladly try to help you through it. But hopefully this video will help y'all understand, once you opened up this box, what you do with the game. And I deeply appreciate each and every one of you. May God bless you, and have a good evening.